What's happening, everybody? How y'all doing out there? You know, after my recent interview with Jawbox drummer Zach Barocas, a few of you mentioned I should track down former Jawbox drummer Adam Wade, who also played in one of the more bizarre bands of the 90s in a band that defied just about every imaginable category in Shudder to think. And turns out the old adage, ask and you shall receive, seems to have panned out for once. So today's guest is in fact Adam Wade. Adam and I caught up while he was on a brief tour with Film School, the band that is. When they came through Brooklyn, so we went down to the East River and talked life, touring, drumming, drummers, injuries, cancer birthdays, New York, LA, DC, Jawbox, and a whole lot of Shudder to think. It's definitely a good time talking to him and no shortage of killer stories, so I hope y'all dig it. Shout out to my sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. If you're looking to release in vinyl, go on over to NewOrleansRecordPress.com to look at all them sweet-ass vinyl color and packaging, mastering, electroplating, lacquer cutting options, as well as a real-time quote generator. And they print both 12 and 7-inch records in both 150 and 180 gram variants. They also print runs as small as 100 and up to pressings in the thousands. And they can also assist you in design or any other questions if you have them. So just give them a holler and tell them Crash Bang Boom sent you. Check them out, and that's NewOrleansRecordPress.com. Crash Bang Boom Podcast is available on iTunes Podcast, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play, and more. Give me a like, a subscription, a review, etc. It'd be greatly appreciated. Feel free to check me out on the Facebook and Instagram accounts as well. So without further ado, here we go. Adam Wade, everybody. Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
Adam Wade, what is happening, man? We're sitting up here in Williamsburg next to the river, the Williamsburg Bridge. We got trains going by. We're next to the Domino Factory. There are people running. There's a misting tent.
What am I doing here?
Apparently you came through to play a gig.
I fell out of a van in Williamsburg, and now I'm here with you at the park, and it's lovely.
We're getting some of this L.A. weather that you're accustomed to. You said this is a little bit more humid, you would say.
It's a little more humid, yes.
This is all good by me. I'm not much of a fan of winters. Not that this was a seriously heavy one, but I'm still just over it, you know?
It's gorgeous here right now. I'm very happy to be back in this neck of the woods.
For those that may not know, when you say back, it bears mentioning that you originally, you were born here.
Well, sort of. I was born in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Washington, D.C. But then fairly soon moved up here to New York City, specifically the Greenwich Village, just across the river there, around the corner.
River there.
And spent my childhood here in the city.
Okay.
And then, but then, yes, I moved back to D.C. Around 1979. And so, started the junior high school or middle school, high school music.
Whoa.
Yeah.
3 years after I was born also bears mentioning. You were born the day prior to myself.
Oh, yes.
July 3rd, correct?
Couple of Yankee Doodle dandies.
As I said before, I'm 1976, so...
Well, you are wearing Stars and Stripe underwear, just for the viewers at home, the listeners
at home. My
G-string
must have fallen out. He took a little crack at it. You mentioned, I guess, moving back to New York. Is that when you started becoming interested in drums? Did you have any mentors? Was there...
I did. When I was still growing up here in New York, I had a good friend. His name is Youngblood Hask, and he...
Youngblood?
Yep.
Sweet.
But he was a little older than me, and so he was kind of having these sort of certain experiences before me. Like he picked up an instrument, and I didn't have a big brother or anything, so he was kind of.
Are you an only child?
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, I have a younger half brother, but at the time he wasn't around.
Okay, so you
he
grew
wasn't
up
born yet.
more or less as an only child.
In the early days, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he started playing drums, and I was like, well, I want to do that too, and he gave me a snare drum when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8, and I just started bashing it. I took it up to the roof of my dad's building down in Tribeca
Yeah.
at the time and just started wailing away. And all these people were looking out the window like, what the hell is this kid doing?
Stop that shit already.
I don't know. I couldn't hear them if they're yelling at me to stop or not.
Right.
So they were waving.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I don't know why, though.
Do you feel as though that started all this?
Yeah, it kind of gave me, it was like a little dart in the neck.
Yeah.
It just kind of started me off on that path. I'd played some other, orchestra instruments,
Right.
in element, like you do at school. But I quickly, I gravitated to the drums pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a certain personality type. You seem like a pretty fairly chill guy. I've definitely noticed no shortage of sort of anxious, high-paced individuals that seem to gravitate towards beating an instrument that is the drums.
I keep it all under wraps.
Right, yeah. It's all internal. There's therapists for that.
Yeah. Isn't that what this is?
Yeah, exactly. This is what we do.
Right.
What age did you end up leaving New York?
My folks divorced in the 70s, like you do. And
That happened.
What happened?
I said that
that
just
happened.
seems to happen.
What happened? Wait, that's a boring story.
Right.
But my mother remarried, and my new stepfather graduated NYU and pretty quickly got a job with NASA.
No shit.
Yeah, he was a meteorologist. So
Whoa.
we moved down just outside of D.C. into Montgomery County, Maryland, Kensington, Maryland. That's what got me back down there.
So what year are we talking about, I guess, when you got back down there?
Let's see. It would have been like, I want to say 80, 79, 80, around there.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I finished elementary school in Maryland.
Gotcha.
And then went on to middle and high school.
Right on. I feel like D.C. is a drummer's town. It's really incredible. Both rock, I think you have the go-go scene, so you got the pocket funk stuff.
Totally.
There's really some killer drumming.
I feel very lucky to have been able to see, a handful of drummers in person that really just kind of pushed me over just like, oh God, I want to do that.
Yeah.
The first time I saw Pete Moffat from Government Issue play, I was just like, my jaw hit the ground.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy crap.
Zach Baroka said the same thing.
Yeah. And then like Scott Garrett, who was playing with Dag Nasty, was just great to watch.
Yeah.
And then of course seeing Dave Grohl, like even pre-Scream, was just like, the
Whoa,
first
you
time
saw him pre-Scream.
I saw him in his second band. It was called Dane Bramage.
Dane Bramage.
Yes, not brain
Nice.
damage, but Dane.
Right.
Yeah. Flip it and reverse it.
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was at the time, but I was, he was playing at a park, Fort Reno Park, where they did free shows. And yeah, just like the first time you see that, you're just like, oh my God. Like
Really?
even back then, he was just like this, force of nature.
Really?
Oh yeah.
God, how old do you think he was?
Oh,
Young?
he must have been 15.
I was about to
maybe.
say, he would have had to have been.
I think he was only 17 when he joined Scream.
Oh my
If
God.
I'm not mistaken. Maybe 18.
Wow.
Growing up in D.C. in the 80s, you were exposed to some amazing players, and in the go-go scene as well. Just getting to see Trouble Funk, and it was just, really, really inspiring.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
At any point, did you study with anyone? Did you take any like drum set specific lessons?
No, I tried, but no. I just kind of was too stubborn and thick-headed to. I basically learned by, I was that kid in Freaks and Geeks, in the beginning, where he's down in, he's in the, what's his name, Jeff Siegel. He's in the basement. He's got his headphones on. He's playing along to, I think, Rush. For me, it was The Who.
Yeah.
And then soon after I discovered punk rock, then I was like playing along to all those records. And Pete Moffat, for example, is a guy who, he was in the drum corps at University of Maryland. And it really shows. And like, part of me regrets not learning more, and I've since taken some lessons, and it's really helped me a lot. And I'm actually actively looking for a teacher right now. So
right on.
if you know anyone in LA,
I know a couple of guys for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's. I did something at the Drummers Collective.
Yeah.
Here years ago, I just took a few lessons, and like just the effect that it had on my playing, it moved me forward, just leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh wow, this is. Like, because before that you're just kind of like flailing. I don't know. Because when you're self-taught, you kind of do what you do, and
for sure,
and sometimes it works out.
There can certainly be some bad setup and ergonomic issues that will affect you physically.
Yes, bad habits. It's funny. Like I'm 50 years old now, and my wrists feel okay. the shoulders, you got to take care of your shoulders, I find.
Yeah, mine's fractured right now. It kind of sucks.
Yeah, you're on the IL.
I'm a little gimpy right now. It's pretty shitty.
Yeah, I didn't think. Yeah, so you can't play.
Right.
You can do some Def Leppard. Sorry,
some
that's a
Def
bad
Leppard.
joke.
Yeah, I injured my right, so I can't lift that. So everything would have to be done with my left. Which
right. That's even weirder.
I'd have to lead and. I
assume you play. You're right-handed.
I'm cross-handed and lead with my right.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little bit of a drag. Not the first time I've been injured, man. Have you had to play through bullshit injuries?
Knock on wood, I have not.
Seriously,
it's kind of a miracle. I mean, it wasn't really an injury that I had to play through, but it was a condition. Shudder to Think shot a music video over around the bend on the Hudson. It was like an old fishing ship.
Yeah,
but it didn't sail anymore. And it was really cool looking. I think the cover of that Screaming Trees record was shot on it.
Oh wow!
Their first major label, one of the yeah. But anyway, it's like. So we shot it on there. It was a Hitlicker video.
Oh, nice.
And we had to be there super early. So I didn't get much sleep, of course. And it was really hot that day. And so you're out on the water, you're just floating ever so slightly. And next thing, the next day, I was like, oh, guys, I'm still on the water. And I got vertigo.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I had to play. We had a couple shows pretty soon thereafter. It was really a odd feeling to, try to go for the cymbal and just miss it. It's like, whoa. I know, it was weird.
It's I have been unfortunate enough to have had to cancel gigs on probably 4 or 5 different occasions from injuries.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm not injury prone, but now sitting here talking to you, I'm starting to think otherwise.
I knock wood again. I feel pretty fortunate to have not. I broke my collarbone in high school. That was it.
Really, that's the one.
I'm a very careful person.
Yeah, see, I guess I'm not. I call it calculated risk, but maybe I'm miscalculating.
Yeah, I have to crunch the numbers again there.
I'm going to have to crunch them again. Oh, my God. Well, I guess once you get into high school, what were your influences at the time? Where were you at? What was
Pre-high
happening?
school, it's pretty typical, early mid-'80s American kid in the burbs. You listen to your classic rock stuff.
Right.
I was really, the first record I ever bought growing up was the Monkees because I watched it on TV.
Right.
And I liked the songs.
Yeah.
And it was
catchy ass songs.
Catchy, very catchy. I still love the Monkees.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, naturally that'll take you to the Beatles.
Yes.
From there, the Kinks, and then the Who, and then of course all those bands back then were active. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see the Who. I'm gonna go see the Kinks, and of course they're all getting older, but still, it was like
right.
They were putting out new records, maybe not their best records, but still, it was like they were an active band, so it was kind of easy to kind of follow them and get caught up with it. And
Zach Barocas also mentioned Keith Moon as an influence and said that he grew up playing along with him.
It's funny. I think about Keith Moon a lot.
I do
as
too.
a means to avoid.
Really?
Keith. Yeah, because I catch myself playing, and I'm like, Adam, you're doing Keith Moon.
In what sense? Like the wildness of it?
Yeah, and the certain type of feel. His best drumming, I think, is probably live at Leeds.
Yeah, it's
wild.
pretty
wild, but it's also kind of groovy and so that version of I Can't Explain. It's just this awesome pocket,
it's killing.
It just really just bounces, but it's so easy to fall into that because it's a cliche. Because it's the great thing about Keith Moon is that he sounds like Keith Moon. There's no one else
right.
Actually, that's not entirely true. There's other drummers of that time that Mitch Mitchell was probably a better version of Keith Moon.
Right.
Kenny Jones. This is what I'm coming back to. It's when I was into the Who, Kenny Jones was a drummer. I wasn't old enough to be cognizant of Keith Moon, but so Kenny Jones was a drummer. I was like, well, he's the drummer guy. And I kind of learned to appreciate him. He's very tight. And although I later learned that he had back problems.
Oh.
He was in a car wreck or something, and he fucked up his back, so he couldn't really swing like he used to.
Ooh.
So that's why his Who stuff is kind of stiff.
Mm. Well, for me, I think the thing with Keith Moon, and I feel like I talked a little bit with this about Zach as well when he had mentioned it, and also bring up Keith a good bit. Rather than, I came to Keith much later in life, literally maybe in the past 6 years, I've really kind of had an appreciation for him. And it's more just the conceptual side of it in that I love that he was able to interject his wild man personality in his playing, and that wild man comes out, it permeates his playing, and you have a sense that the person who's playing this stuff might be a little crazy.
Yeah.
And I love that as a concept.
And And of course, it's it's the Who. It's like, and that's another thing. I mean, with Keith Moon, the Who sound like the Who, and no one else does. So it's sort of like it becomes a cliche at some point. I never really wanted to sound like one other. Like
Sure.
I just didn't. I sort of okay. You get close to that rail, and like okay, let's go somewhere else. And but it's fun, and like I said, Live at Leeds is just like so awesome, and shit.
What are you going to say?
Who's going to argue with that?
Jawbox happens. First record, Grippe came out in 91, I believe.
Okay, I think we got together, the three of us, in 89.
Okay.
But I feel like Grippe came out before that, and then maybe Grippe was 90 and Novelty's 92.
Well, it's listed as 91, which is like my favorite year almost of all time of music.
You know what? So. Let's just say it's 91.
Yeah, because I wanted to say congratulations
I'm pretty sure it's 1991.
on releasing a record amongst so many killer records that was the year of 1991.
Okay, well, thank you. That was a funny record because for Kim Coletta and I, not Jay, but he had already had 2 records under his belt with GI. But for Kim and I, it was like a real learning experience. It was like, how do you do this? Like, I'm in a studio and there's a bunch of mics on me, and it's kind of the sound of a band learning how to do what they're doing. And it's not obviously far from a perfect record, but it has its moments.
Yeah.
Jay does some really. I mean, that's Jay's first guitar record, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Because he's playing bass in GI.
Right.
And he didn't play guitar on the GI records, I'm pretty sure. I mean, he sang one song with them.
Uh-huh.
He did the title track from Crash. So, yeah, Jay's did some amazing guitar work on there. And, I mean, it's like, I listen to it now. I'm like, oh, geez, what are you doing? There's a stupid fill there. Like,
right.
Oh, that's a mistake. And Eli Janney recorded it, so it sounds really good. Almost sounds, I would say, almost too good.
Yeah.
Because you can just hear every little flub. And but it was exciting to be in a studio for the first time like that.
I bet it was.
It was the newer fangled inner ear at the time.
Both that and Novelty, both on Discord Records, right?
Yes.
When I think back of, I guess, sort of the post-hardcore or sort of noise rock, bands like Fugazi, etc. Once again, like 1991, like Drive Like Jehu, obviously on the other side of the coast, but they put out their first record that year. Fugazi put out Said You Died of Nothing that year.
Mm-hmm.
Jawbox had their record. A band that you would go on later to play, Shudder to Think, put out their record that year.
What did they put out that year?
They put out what is it? Funeral at the
Funeral
the
came
movies.
out. That's right.
Yeah,
it was such a great record.
So, and I mean, that's not even talking about hip hop, metal, and actually like weird, like actual kind of alternative stuff, like Fishbone's Reality My Surroundings, Primus's record, Mr. Bungle.
It was an odd time for music because it was like it was that like post hair metal thing,
right?
But you still had this sort of there's still like. I mean, heavy metal was alive and well back then.
Right. I mean, Metallica, for instance, put out the Black Album that year, but also grunge broke that year because Nirvana, Nevermind, Smashing Pumpkins, Gish, Soundgarden, Bad Motorfinger, Pearl Jam 10, all that. So much. My Bloody Valentine put out the record, not necessarily grunge, but...
Right, but it was a step forward sonically, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess one of my questions there is, what effect do you feel like Fugazi might have had on sort of the style that Jawbox would ultimately embrace? Because... I hear a little bit of a correlation there, I would say. At least with the noisy guitar kind of style.
Oh, for sure. You could say that about almost all the bands sort of in that tent in Washington at the time. Like there was Lungfish. They kind of took that formula and ran with it and made it their own. It's funny because I was talking about Keith Moon and the Who and not wanting to do that. Well, I remember having conversations with Jay, like, I don't really I love Fugazi, but I don't want to be a Fugazi band because they do that and they're way better at it than I'll
so
ever
good
be.
at it.
So let's not do that so much. Like
Brendan Canty, also an awesome drummer.
Oh my God, yeah! I just saw him the other night in LA.
Oh, the Mesthetics?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he really blew my mind. I'd seen him play with Fugazi many times. Shudder to Think toured with them for a month. And, but I'd never seen him play like that before. Like I was like, Brendan, I can't, like, whoa, like it was like King Crimson or something. I mean, I was like, I knew he's an incredible drummer, but that shit that they were doing was like, holy fuck, he was airing it out. Yeah. Like it was way beyond Fugazi.
The guitarist playing in that band is a badass.
Sick. Yeah, really. I mean, obviously
and of course
the
you got
rhythm
Joe
section
playing bass.
is phenomenal. But I was kind of, it was inspiring to see Brendan play like that. It was just like a little different than, he still had his Liberty Bell thing, and like, but it was like he was just doing stuff I had never seen him do before, and it was awesome.
Yeah, man. But you were saying, I guess, going back to the Fugazi thing, you were kind of the same.
Well, yeah, I remember thinking, like, I didn't know what I wanted. Like, well, let them do that.
Yeah.
I was also, it's like we were young and you just want to like just bash and.
Right. Well, I guess once Novelty rolls around, what do you feel was the progression in the band at that point?
Yeah, you listen to Novelty and it's like, oh yeah, you guys are just out on tour with Naked Raygun and Helmet. Because this record kind of sounds like Naked Raygun and Helmet.
There's one song in particular that sounds a little like Helmet, but
well, we went out with Helmet for like this big, I think it was like 8 weeks or something. It was a really long tour. It was amazing.
John Stainer, bad motherfucker.
Oh yeah, John is phenomenal, no question. I mean, okay, you cannot see Helmet, especially back then.
Yeah.
For the first time, and not just be like, oh my god, like they played at this little DC Space, a very small club. Back then, and it was Jawbox, Helmet, and the Holy Rollers. Okay. And Helmet was kind of put on the bill with us, and that was and I didn't know who they were, and then they played, and I just stood there, and I was just like, like that guy in the chair with this hi-fi. You're just like, ah! Like, what is happening? This is incredible.
Man. Yeah.
Especially, I think to like a young male, it's just like, this is awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so aggro and but kind of like, the polyrhythms, and they didn't have their first 7-inch was out, Born Annoying.
Oh, okay, so pre-Strap It On.
Yes, and I bought that thing there that night.
Strap It On came out in 90, as I recall, so.
Yeah. So later on, we were like, we got on this Helmet tour, and the first thing that happens is like, to tune those guitars down to D. And like, it's like you can't, it was just, I think we were all so young and impressionable enough. And just like, you can't be exposed to that and not sort of be like, but I'm kind of proud of the fact that, yes, okay, like maybe if you didn't know Helmet, or if you didn't know that we had toured with Helmet, like, the Drop D sort of became a thing then. We weren't like a full-on Helmet clone.
No, not at all.
Even though at times we were probably trying to be.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
But it's just because of who we were, it just sort of came out differently.
Right.
And same with Naked Raygun. We've done a lot of shows with them, and we specifically went out and got Ian Burgess, who had done Raygun albums.
Okay.
Like this, we were way more focused, and you could tell, but that record is a lot more focused than the previous one. It's, the performance is better, the songs are, the writing is way better. Yeah, it has some derivative stuff in there, but it's good derivativeness.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Sitting back to do the disarray, explain to satisfy the easy life, apt reaction to the senseless brain, ain't the questions for the easy life. Nothing such in your eyes, see my oversight.
Well, after Novelty comes out, and once again, I think we're talking about 92 or so, how much longer were you with the band, and how ultimately did you end up getting into Shudder to Think?
Dude, my last tour with Jawbox was actually opening for Shudder to Think.
Whoa.
Yes, ironically.
Holy moly.
Well,
life is strange.
You can do the math. And things in Jawbox started to get a little prickly. Just the relationships were getting frayed, and things were just kind of getting sort of too close for comfort, and something had to give, and I think that was me. So, and the guys in Shudder to Think noticed my sort of alienation from the Jawbox people, and we get, we're on tour, so you talk a lot. And then at one point they're like, hey, it looks like it sounds like things are kind of, you don't seem very happy right now. Like, and by the way, Mike Russell he's decided to leave the band, Shudder to Think's drummer. And he left, on his, he's like, I think he had a thing, he was like, I'm turning 30, so I'm gonna either pick the band or pick the career. So he went with a career. And so they asked me if I wanted to, give it a go. And so that tour ended, and I was like, I went over to the Jawbox house, and I was like, look, guys, I think it's time for me to go. I think I'm gonna move on. And at that point, Zach was living in the group house. Okay. So he was like, it was all perfect. Like, he was there, ready to go. Right. He was our good friend, and it all just sort of made sense. And I obviously, I think it worked out better for them because he was the drummer they needed. Yeah. And I don't think we could have progressed, or Jawbox couldn't have progressed with me in the band. So, and I don't think I could have progressed either. So. Right. So coincidentally, I just love Shudder to Think so much, and I just wanted to be something that was like maybe a little more melodic. Mm-hmm. This is the irony, is that I'd gotten a cassette tape of Funeral at the Movies before it came out, and I just listened to it over and over again. I was like, God, it was just one of those beautiful things I'd ever heard. Wow. I mean, Craig's vocals on there and just the guitar playing, it was just gorgeous. Yeah. And kind of a little psychedelic, and just kind of a little more something different. And I was like, I love this. And I was kind of not into doing the kind of like the aggro thing, and and I don't know that Jawbox was either, but that's just where we were at the time. Like I said, your helmet, your Naked Raygun, it's all very kind of like tough guy. So to get to join Shudder to Think was like, I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is. So, but then of course, Shudder had kind of moved away from the funeral sound. And like Get Your Goat is like, if you can explain that record to me, or any subsequent Shudder to Think record for that matter. Seriously. It's like, it was just something else entirely. And that's kind of what I wanted. I'm like, I don't know but I just want to do something that's like just different. Yeah. My goal, and I think that was kind of the unifying force in Shudder to Think at that time in like 1993, 94, was like, we just want to be unique. We want to do something you can't put this in a box.
You couldn't. I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, I don't know how to classify this. I don't know what genre this is. I don't know.
Beyond the drums and bass and guitar and vocals, I mean, that's it. Right. And it was, so it was, that became a whole nother journey.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, is because when I listened to the drumming that you did with Jawbox, and then on that first record with Shudder to Think, the Shudder to Think material is so idiosyncratic. There's odd transitions, there's odd feels, there's odd times, how his vocal melodies stretch over all those set variables is its own bizarre element. So was that not a challenge, playing drums in that band?
Oh, absolutely. But it was also thrilling because to work with Craig, I mean, it's all him, really. Yeah. I mean, it starts with him and his sort of cockamamie riffs that he'd come up with. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it would just develop into this like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like, oh, shit, that's so cool. Like, you got to find it. And it's not just like set out for you. And then there's no 4/4, but it just becomes this other loop that you kind of, get into. And it's like, becomes like interdimensional travel. And I thought I had a satanic experience once while playing the end of Hitlicker, the outro. Really? Yeah, I was just like, I don't believe in Satan or God or anything.
You might have summoned demons.
But I felt like we could, this is demonic and this is so cool. And but I didn't know that I was going to do that, but it feels like it could. And it's like, we didn't mean for that to happen, but there's evil in the room right now. It's like, this is pure evil and this is incredible. You're just conjuring this stuff. But that's just me. I mean, someone else might feel something entirely different.
Of course.
But it was very challenging just to kind of, but we had the luxury, we signed to Epic Records, both Jawbox signed and we,
the Discord bands that went to
the sellouts. And with that, you do get some luxury of like being able to just practice, and that was like pretty incredible. So we worked on those songs for months. Wow. Playing them over and over again. That's how I figured it out. Just like, here we go, over and then and then and still it wasn't even done by the time we got to the studio. It's just like,
Really?
'cause there's some of it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. This is like, bloop, bloop, bloop,
You don't
bloop,
wing
like,
it and figure it out. Jesus.
yeah, and then
That sounds stressful.
It was stressful. Yes, at times I got a few gray hairs making that record.
Yeah.
It was also thrilling, and working with Ted Nicely, who was he obviously did everyone's record back then, and he put me through the ringer.
Really?
Oh yeah, but I mean, for the best, I feel like.
In hindsight, looking back on your performance, you feel as though it benefited?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he definitely made me a better drummer for sure. Like, just made me calm down my right foot for sure. Because the punk rock thing is
Right.
and he's like, no. It's just give me a whole note. Just
Yeah.
God, pa,
Right.
It's like just something as simple as that. Just like you just get you thinking. And of course, when you're strapped into a click track,
Right.
that's where it really gets thorny.
Oh yeah. I've seen footage of you singing background vocals with Shudder to Think, right?
Well, live I would do.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So one of the elements that I was mentioning is so unique and so almost impossible to classify is Craig's voice.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty impressive that you were both able to navigate rhythmically what was happening and melodically what he was doing and be able to sing harmonies with him. That's pretty impressive.
Well, it's Mike Russell, he did backing vocals as well on
Okay.
a couple songs, so it kind of came from that. And I like to sing. And
Did you learn how to singing along with Shudder to Think records prior to that?
no, I
Okay.
probably learned how to singing along to Monkees records.
Those have great harmonies.
Yeah. But then, and then specifically like playing a song like X French T-shirt,
Yeah.
which has this, in the studio version, it's just like, I don't know how many vocal tracks are layered on there.
Right.
That's a good, I should ask Craig that. Like,
Yeah.
how many tracks? I don't. That's a bunch. But so, naturally, like, well, how are we going to pull this off live? I mean, I need to kind of throw in some little just some little harmony, just to kind of give it some feeling of, the record. And I hope that kind of helped it a little bit, because it was like,
I mean, what I heard live, I was impressed with it.
it was not an exact rendition of the record, but
Yeah.
I would try to hit certain parts that kind of would make it feel like that,
Sure.
and that I could sing and play at the same time.
Right, exactly.
But that song was relatively easy to play. It's like
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of just doing like Ringo there,
Yeah,
do ba do dee ba do, like come together basically.
Right.
Although that's the outro part.
Yeah.
The rest of the song is a little more like, but that was for that whole record musically, like backing up a little bit, like Craig would. He'd bring in these kind of gonzo parts, and they'd be like, trying to hash through it. So my reaction would just to be like, okay, I'm gonna play the simplest possible thing, just to kind of figure out like where the one is, and
Right.
and then try to sculpt it out from there. So there's not a whole lot of wackadoodle fills on that record.
No, but the transitions of one part to the next are what is kind of tricky, I feel like.
Yeah, and making those work and
Yes.
not seem awkward, and
Right.
yeah, that's what the practice was for.
Exactly.
I don't know. I love that record.
And then I guess touring on that record, once again, it kind of goes back to the many bizarre variables that was that band.
Yeah.
With Shudder to Think opening up for other bands, did y'all play in front of crowds that absolutely were vicious?
Well, we had yes and no. At the time, this would have been 93, like right after I started playing with Shudder. Although, here's a funny story. I think it was my second show playing with Shudder to Think was with Jawbox. Like they opened up for us.
Oh.
And I'm like, really? Come on. Like, it's not that I don't want to see them, but I don't need this pressure. I'm just starting this new gig. Like, why are you doing this? Like,
Yeah.
But, the booking agent was like, probably just thinking like, well, I get a fat guarantee with these two bands, so here you go.
There it is.
Yeah. How do we do? We went out with Fugazi
Oh, wow.
in 93 on the Red Medicine record.
Oh, right on.
And we did like a month with them on the East Coast. Pretty amazing. But that was a very friendly crowd for, because a lot of, even back then, a lot of Fugazi fans would know who Shudder to Think was.
Right.
But yeah, we did a Daisy Chainsaw tour, but there was a smaller club tour. They're an incredible band, and that was a good bill for us because they were just, if you ever...
I'm not familiar. I'm not going to
They
check
have
it
an
out.
album called 11teen,
Okay.
and it's amazing.
All right.
But the big one was the Smashing Pumpkins. Took us out on tour, And that was crazy because we didn't have any. We were still touring on Get Your Goat.
Right.
We hadn't been signed, or maybe we were signed, but not like.
But hadn't released the
nothing. We hadn't even recorded yet.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was intense because that's a different audience.
Right.
And on that record, Siamese Dream, that it blew up during that tour.
Oh, they're huge.
We started
massive.
Well, but we started in Madison, Wisconsin, which is kind of their home. It was like their backyard at the time.
Huh.
And it was like maybe a 500-seat club.
Okay.
It's still big for us, but like for them it was like, big for their, Chicago band. But by the end of that album blew up. They were playing Saturday Night Live.
Right.
We wound up doing like 2 nights at the Palladium and like these fairgrounds with like 5,000. It's just like
whoa.
And their audience, some people were receptive, but when you're playing in front of that many people, only maybe 2% of them, if that, are going to know who you are.
Yeah.
And they tended to attract some more sort of mainstream crowd. And this is, again, 1993. It's just like so long ago, and people, just like they would stand there and give us the finger, call Craig a faggot, and just like really, just like, oh God,
yeah.
Just really adversarial and like,
yeah,
it was stressful. I think for the band, I remember, we were drinking a lot just to kind of like, for some reason there was like a bottle of Jack on our rider and it would be like half empty before we even go on.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's like, this is crazy. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was fun. The Smashing Pumpkins, they were, lovely people, and it was great to get to know them. And Jimmy Chamberlin was really, really good to me.
Killer drummer.
Oh, amazing. I would sit behind him.
Oh, wow.
And watch him play. It's just like, it was just incredible. It was like watching like Neil Peart or something.
He's badass, man.
Yeah, and definitely, I picked up some stuff from him for sure, although not too much. It's part of my drumming is I don't, it's like, okay, Adam, don't do too many fills.
Uh-huh.
Just don't do the fills. Nobody likes fills. Only drummers like fills.
That being said, I'm still like, I'm going to play a shit ton of fills.
I know. Well, that's the thing. If you get to the point where you stop thinking about it and you just do it, and it's like, oh, that worked.
Right.
So then we toured with the Foo Fighters back then. That was better. I think because we had a record out at that point. So and it was a little more of a friendlier audience because like there was some ties there, I think, spiritually. And then we did Lollapalooza. That was amazing. We were like co-headlining with Stereolab.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was really, really great.
That's awesome.
The Bad Seeds were on that tour. The fucking Beastie Boys and the Pumpkins and
the
Breeders and
right.
I mean, so many amazing bands. That was I think that was the 94 Lollapalooza. It was a great lineup.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess after you played a little bit on the 50,000 C record.
That was sort of the the beginning of a very dark time for Shudder to think. We had sort of finished all the touring that we were going to do for Pony Express record, and the label was like, okay, we're ready for the next record. And, we had some ideas and we were sort of kicking them around, but nothing was really sticking. And we had moved to New York at this point, and I think there may have been some distractions there, and the band was kind of having writer's block. But we had some good ideas, but it just wasn't sort of happening. But then Craig got cancer. I don't know if you heard about that.
I did.
But he got Hodgkin's disease, and it just kind of like, it's just at that point, especially at that time, it was on the verge of being treatable. Because at the time you just hear cancer.
Yeah.
And it was serious. I mean, it was not just like, it wasn't like some little easy peasy cancer.
Yeah.
It was like, Craig had it bad, and he fought it, and obviously he's okay. But it was it was a very dark time and very depressing time, obviously, for Craig, because we thought he could die.
Right.
And it just kind of like put things kind of in the toilet. And so some time went by, and he was starting. He kind of got through his treatment, and we picked up again. And I remember thinking like, hey, why don't we go demo these songs? Like, this is, we got some cool ideas. They just need some, maybe if we record something, we can step back and hear it, and like,
sure.
We hadn't really done that before. But so we go over to the studio, Water Music, over there somewhere.
Over there somewhere.
Yeah, across the river. And but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, you're making the record now. Like, this is the record. I'm like, okay.
Oh.
I don't know that these songs are ready yet, but I guess that's how it goes. You just know you don't have time to be ready. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but it was just not happening, and I think the previous record didn't sell great, despite, putting a fuck ton of money into it.
Right.
So I think they wanted their hit.
Yeah.
And I know they wanted the song Red House, which is
a pretty killer song.
Great song.
Yeah.
But at the time, I remember thinking, like, fuck, like, I don't want to do that because, A, like, that's regressive.
Uh-huh.
And B, the best version of that song is available right now from Discord. You can go buy it for, $6.
Yeah.
They'll send it to your house. It's available. It's not out of print.
Really?
But I understand. It's a great song, and I think Epic Records was like, no, we want like a radio-ready version of this. And I was like not enthusiastic about doing that. And I think for a number of reasons, I was removed from the band. So
yeah.
I think, I don't know all the reasons why, but I think it was another situation where something had to give, and it's like, oh, you're out. I'm like, okay. So it was it was a rough time, but Craig is alive, so that's really all that
absolutely
matters.
Well, in the fallout of all of that, it sounds like you had been pretty busy going from record to touring and this and that and the other. So what did you find yourself doing after Shudder to think?
Well, post Shudder, I was sort of licking my wounds a bit, and I left New York and I went back to DC for a bit and just kind of was like a little shell shocked.
I bet.
It's like, what do I do now? And I just started playing with various people. I played with this woman, Lauren Hoffman. She was a solo artist, and did a little recording with her. She made a really great record. It came out in like 97. And then what did I do? I was in LA, and
so you did make the move to LA.
Well, no,
DC.
I was sort of like, I was in my sort of wandering lost years
little
there.
nomadic phase.
I had a friend who was like, hey, I have some stuff that needs to come from DC to LA. Do you want to, I'll pay for you to drive it out there. I was just sort of like, all right.
Yeah.
What do? You go on a road trip. And then when I was in LA, I got a call from a friend, and she's like, hey, Krist Novelselic is looking for a drummer. Would you be up for, trying out for that? I was just like, yes, obviously, yes, of course. So I'm like, all right, this is cool. Got a gig. And so I talked to Chris on the phone. We're like, hey, man, how's it going? I'd met him a couple times before. And I was like, so what are you doing? He's like, well, I got this band. We're kind of sound like a cross between the Byrds and the Beatles. And I was just like, cool. When can I buy my house? And so I get... and so he's like, well, I'll send you a tape. He sends a cassette back to my place in D.C., and I get it in the mail, rip it open, stick it in the deck, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay, all right, shit. It wasn't that good.
Right.
But at the time, everyone's like, dude, you have to do it. It's Krist Novelselic. You got to fucking... I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. It was a good experience, and getting to know Chris was great. He's a real sweetheart and a great musician, and really just a really fun guy, and a really funny guy, too, just to hang out with. And it was, but kind of weird to kind of get into that post-Nirvana world, and just sort of like there's these, so I'd go out. So I started commuting out to Seattle for rehearsals and, getting ready for tours and recording, and I was staying in his house, like his Nevermind house that he bought with his money. It's like this, like, nice place, and he had like a little movie theater in the basement, and a pinball machine and a giant bong. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm just gonna smoke dope and do the the Wizard of Oz Pink Floyd thing now.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. But it's so it was, I don't know, it was just kind of a weird situation because he had he wasn't playing bass, first of all, which is kind of a bummer.
Right.
'Cause he's a great bass player. And he had hooked up with this woman named Eva Las Vegas, and she was this amazing singer, originally from Venezuela, I believe. And she was busking in the streets of Seattle, and I think Krist had seen her and was kind of taken. She was doing this sort of like indigenous peasant music from Venezuela, like on a, and like very, real deal stuff.
Right.
And somehow he befriended her, and then they thought, oh, let's start a band. But so then she kind of became this sort of like punk singer, and she was great. She was really, she's still doing it. She's fierce and like, but it was just sort of I think Krist was purposely not doing Nirvana. He saw, of course, everyone saw what Dave did.
Right.
And I was like, well, you going to do that too, Krist? Because, there's money on the table there for you if you want it.
Yeah.
And, but, to his credit, it's just, he's like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not who he is. Although, it's typical, like the label was like, I don't hear a single. So they sent us back into the studio and to record another song, and it still wasn't that good. But it was an interesting gig. I had the main record that they did, Bill Rieflin played drums on it.
Okay. And
I had to kind of like figure his shit out, which was, an education. And then I got to record with that one song we did was with Paul Fox, who had done a bunch of XTC stuff. So that was
nice.
Pretty great experience. We did at A&M Studios, and that's a good looking dog right there.
that is a good looking dog. It's one of those Burmese mountain. Is that one of those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the market for a dog.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I'm a fan of all dogs.
I
can
can
name,
tell
name
that.
the dog breeds. Yeah, we saw no shortage of French bulldogs walking here. There's
Well,
fucking cute dogs everywhere.
it's Brooklyn, right?
No shortage of hot chicks everywhere. That helps out too. Oh,
Well, we are amongst the beautiful people.
yeah, right.
No question.
No question.
Friendly, beautiful people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that the Sweet 75 thing, that was Krist's band. It was a good experience, but I also kind of feel like that just kind of ran its course, and I was sort of like suddenly, I wake up and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm almost 30, and I'm like, what happened?
Right.
What do I do now?
Oh man.
And I just I went to LA, because I moved up to Portland for the band. So I could be closer to the work there.
Yeah.
But then that band fell apart, and wound up. I was like, all right, I'll go to LA. I'm sure I'll find something there. But typical fashion, as soon as I get there, I think like the sunshine. I was just like, I don't want to get back in a van. I don't want to do anything. I'm just gonna relax and maybe dig in the dirt a bit. And so I went back to school and I learned some audio engineering and
Oh, cool.
and then got married and
Oh, congratulations.
had some kids.
I'm on my second. I have one kid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I
How
got
many for you?
2 boys.
Two boys.
Yeah.
I have one boy.
Okay. How old?
He just turned 1.
Oh, well, you're in the weeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guys are 10 and 12.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're awesome.
So that happened.
Yeah, so domesticity kicked in.
Yeah.
I had the full catastrophe.
Right.
Um,
Well, at which point did film school start?
Oh, that's a very recent thing. I actually, because of my kids' elementary school, I met this fella. His name's Dan Long, and he's a great producer, engineer. He grew up in D.C., and so we sort of bonded over that, over the Washington football men and the Nationals and the Caps. And he started using me in recordings, and so I just became like a house guy for him. But then film school, who a band I'd sort of heard of when they were active about 15 or so years ago, he was recording them because they were reforming, and I guess the last drummer they had was like, "No, I'm good. I'm not gonna do it." Dan called me, played on the record. They asked me to do some dates, and I'm thinking like, "Oh, okay, I want to keep playing. I've always, I haven't stopped playing, but it's like the touring thing now is kind of like, even though this is a very short tour, but it's
balancing
it's
that is, yeah.
Yeah, but what I really miss and what I love about all this is just playing every night.
Yeah.
Is like such a a special thing to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm doing it.
I hear you. Even as you get older, touring, being in a van, all of that shit, is your body hurting, man? My back is hurting just sitting
I didn't
here.
get the best night's sleep last night. It wasn't the Ritz. But, although, I mean, I don't know. I sat in with the Motels for like a bunch of shows.
Okay.
That was a nice gig.
Right on.
Yeah, they're that's a comfy band.
Nice.
So that was good. Yeah, I'm not sure what's gonna happen after this. I just, I still have like playing goals. Like I want to go. I've never played Japan.
Yeah.
I'd like to get back to Europe and play. I mean, but I miss my kids. That's the thing though. Right now, like I haven't seen them in a week, and I'm just like, so I can't really fuck off for like a month.
Right.
It's easier.
When you get back after a week, are you going to go home and they're just going to be on their devices? Are they just going to be on their phones? Is that what's happened with kids?
That's the struggle. The screens. You're going to have
real.
to deal with that. I would recommend keeping them off the screen as long as you can.
We're trying.
But it's really hard once they get into like preschool, because there's always that one fucking kid who's got the iPad, like who's like why, parents? Why are you giving this fucking, like you're destroying your kid's brain. Oh, it is rating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
got to be careful with the damn screens.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It'll keep them off. Seriously.
Keep them off.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, shit, man. I think it's starting to rain on us, so we can get going here. But Adam, it was great talking to you. Thanks for catching up, man. And happy early birthday. You're the third. I'm the fourth. No shortage of great cancer drummers out there. So happy birthday.
Yeah. You were mentioning you had a list of cancer drummers. Real quick.
Mitch Mitchell.
Oh yeah.
Ringo Starr.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Ian Pace of Deep Purple.
Wow.
Joe Morello. Philly Joe Jones. Stuart Copeland.
Damn. Okay.
Fish from Fishbone, all kinds of Thomas Hakem Meshuggah. There's like from all over the place. No shortage of incredible cancer drummers. You, myself,
Summer Babes.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Summer Babes.
You got it, man.
All right.
Well, good talking to you, buddy.
All right, you too, man. Thanks.
Yeah, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Adam for catching up amidst a fairly hectic environment that was the Williamsburg side of the East River on a nice sunny day, even though it started to rain on us a little bit later. We'll catch you on the next one. Crush, bang, boom!
Honey, don't let your lips all stuck to the sea. You close the door on Mama Shine.